Sean Salisbury, former NFL, USC quarterback, host of the Sean Salisbury Show, Sports Talk 790 in Houston. Always good to see you, buddy. Let me start with the Cowboys. Okay, how much credit do the Cowboys deserve right now?
Well, Dan, I know what meltdown looks like. I've created a few of those in my life, much to the chagrin of coaches and players on the sideline. Where they are right now, I think last night it's a win. You'll take them. They're hard to come by, old cliche. I'm with you and listening to what you were talking about, Dan. Too many big plays, and they didn't hit the quarterback enough last night. But their defense, we've seen in the past, is capable of that disruption in the backfield. They're going to need that, and you're right. It's for the Cowboys, it's three phases for me, Dan. Up until December. Then what am I going to see in December? And then are you a January or February team? Because they've proven to us they're a December, January team without the playoff guts or whatever to get to February. Now, do I believe Prescott's in the MVP talk? Yes, and should. Am I concerned about you give up 30-plus points in a game to in December or January, you're going to lose. That's not going to happen on a continuous basis. I trust that they're better. But, Dan, no matter what, I don't care if they run through 4-0 in December. Because I give the Cowboys a lot of credit as well, and I think they are not only formidable but dangerous. And feels like there's a different energy about them right now. But come see me in January, because no matter what happens now, home field advantage, not home field advantage, they still got to prove to me that their stones are dangling in January. And if they do that, then we'll be talking different. They'll get all the credit because everybody wants to talk about America's team, but there's still much to prove because I know a lot of guys who can get to January. Only a couple get to February, at least at that position over the last handful of years.
Dangling Stones, man, one of my favorite bands of all time.
Oh, dude, them and Creed, Dangling Stones.
Thursday night football, standalone game, and a lot of penalties here. We say this often. You can call a penalty on every play. You don't have to call a penalty on every play, but how do we get through this? How do we sort of find a happy medium where we want the calls to be right, but we don't want you to be right all the time in making these calls? It slows down the flow of the game, certainly at the end of the first half. That took forever.
It does, and Dan, but let me ask you this, and again, in this conversation. Okay, so if I tell you the game's going to last 6 minutes longer, but the reason why, because 3 plays in the game, they're going to spend a little extra time. Would you be willing to sacrifice 6 minutes for the right play and the right answer?
Yes.
Me too.
Yes.
And see, I subscribe to this. I don't want to give him any more replay flags, the red flags, I mean, to challenge the call. But I don't understand why isn't every call a judgment call? Why can't you review every call? I don't understand if there's a legal procedure penalty. Why can't I review that? If a guy jumped too soon, I'm willing to sacrifice 8 minutes of my life to get it right. We have this conversation across the country every year. Too many injuries and too many penalties, yet you're never going to be happy on either side. So for me, I am all for getting it right, even if it takes extra time. The problem is, do we need more referees? Not more voices on the field with referees, but more referees to see what maybe a 60-year-old can't keep up with a 25-year-old. I don't know. Yeah. But we are going to have human error as long as AI isn't, referee in these games. I don't know how to fix it, Dan, other than I know every week we see calls that you cannot miss with the naked eye. You just can't. You can't miss it with the naked eye because if we can, I don't want that job. Hell, I couldn't be a ref. I don't want any part of it. But I know this. They probably don't want any part of playing quarterback either, or they don't want any part of doing what you do because your expertise. They're probably better at my job than I'd be at theirs, but I do know this. They're the experts. They get paid the money. Maybe we got to make it a full-time gig, whatever that might be, but you can't miss these simple calls, and if it takes a few extra minutes to get it right. My concern is when replay misses it. If replay says it's right, it's too close to change. If it's right, change it. I don't know the answer, Dan, but we're going to have this until the end of time, and you and I both know it.
Okay, what do you think of our idea of offensive and defensive linemen wear mittens? Therefore, you can't hold.
Well, mittens sound so soft, right? Can you say tough guy gloves?
Okay.
You know what?
Tough guy
You're
gloves.
Talking about, There you go. Gloves, you mean with like this, Dan, where
Yeah.
the four fingers are together and the thumb sits by itself?
Yeah, like Ralphie in Christmas Story.
Right. Well, okay. But those I could still maybe get the thumb like a lobster.
Okay. Yeah.
And they got to be like fluorescent so we see.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, Dan. I'm not sure that's going to help. Okay.
Okay.
But I'm with you on holding. But I don't mind if they hold inside, because I got news for you, Dan. If they actually did that, remember how we preach player safety, but we'll play 3 days later on a Thursday like last night? Hey, man, we care about him, the concussion, but we'll see you Thursday because the Cowboys are going to draw a lot of people. Dan, think about now, you think it's rough on quarterbacks now. Imagine not being able to grab Myles Garrett on the inside of his armpits or jersey, that you're trying to fiddle around with it, and he's slinging you back into the quarter. Our quarterbacks will be dead if these offensive linemen can't hold.
Well, then
but I'm with you on the fact that so we can see it.
Let
clearer.
everybody
How
hold.
Can we get
How about this, Sean? Everybody gets to hold. Offense, defensive linemen get to hold.
As long as it's inside as long as it's inside.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
I don't have like a wrestling match, but you got to do it. You can't bear hug them, but within reason, hold inside the shoulders. I don't have a problem. Hey, the more the penalties, the merrier. Like, why don't we just take off all the gear and play rugby?
If I would have told you 3 months ago that C.J. Stroud and the Texans would be in the hunt to win the division, maybe a playoff team, you would have said what?
Absolutely not. I would have said growth. I had them at 6 wins when the season started, Dan, and if they were fortunate to get a few breaks and win a couple late games, 7, 8 would have been D'Amico Ryans in the Coach of the Year talk. Well, now they're sitting at 6 and have proven, and it's amazing what one guy can do, not just the coach, but on the field too as the player, to change that, like Joe Burrow did in Cincinnati, to almost feel like when he walks in the building like C.J. Stroud, you're expected to win now. Now when I'm watching last week, Dan, on that final drive, I was guaranteed. Now, I don't like a fade route to a tight end on 4th and 1, but I almost felt, he's going to go down and score, C.J. Stroud. So I would have said no. Now I'm to the point for the first time in a long time thinking, man, if they're within 1 score and there's 2 minutes left, they got a chance. D'Amico has changed. We hear culture used too much, but he's changed the energy and the accountability in the building. And C.J. Stroud has that feeling. I remember John Elway told me years ago, Dan, we were sitting and having a beer at his golf tournament. I said, John, what is it that you could be having an average game, which he didn't have very often, and then all of a sudden with 220 to go, you're down a score, it just kicks in. And you know what he told me? I thought I'm looking for a scientific answer. He said, Sean, I did it once, I did it a second time, and then everybody just thought, well, we're going to do it. Now, John's got different DNA than the rest of us, and then they believed in it. And this team now, the buzz here, Dan, every time he has the ball in his hand, he gives you the best chance to succeed. I'm fascinated by the way he's playing, his feet, everything, but it's his ability to get through progressions and have believability that you're begging for as a rookie, and you almost ask for it. He hasn't had to ask for it. It's been heaped upon him, and he's accepted it and played his rear end off. Aside from Jalen Hurts, I'm not watching a more poised quarterback, in the league than the guy you're watching here in Houston. Man alive, I can't imagine what it's going to be like when he actually learns how to play. It's been pretty fascinating watch, but isn't by luck.
Let's not forget about Mahomes in there.
I didn't, but I didn't say best. I said
you said
the
poised.
Ability to have poised, right? Listen, I expect Mahomes to be poised. He's been doing it enough. Okay. I'm just talking about the ability where his team, you got to carry him. Most of the time, the run game has not been what you want it to be. You're with a makeshift offensive line. Most of us would be panicked and watching the line. At this stage of his career, the poise that he's showing is a guy that's been in the league as long as Mahomes. So I think the Texans, you got to find that guy and you got to find the coach. When you start with those two, the whole energy of the building changes, especially when you have success. I would have never thought it this way. And now, Dan, I think the loser of this Denver Texans game is going to have a hard time getting in, but the winner is going to be in a real good position to continue and have a chance to win it, especially with the Texans schedule.
Sean, guilty of name dropping there, guys?
Monster.
Throw out the
he
Elway.
hangs out with John Elway.
And he had a beer with Elway, and he got invited to Elway's golf tournament. Okay.
Best friends.
I'm going to throw the flag.
Brag.
Hey, we're throwing the flag today. Another penalty. I'm going to charge you 15 for,
This is my first penalty on your show.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was out. Humble brag. Remember the time when you and I were playing and Kevin James was, see?
Yeah.
There you go. See?
Yeah.
Humble brag.
Yeah,
There you
yeah,
go.
Seton.
I feel like that was more inside holding. I'm going to let it go. That's a solid drop.
Okay.
That's holding on the inside, Sean. You're good.
Okay, all right.
Right. You know what I
I'm
call
gonna
it
pick
in
up
the
the flag. We'll pick
yeah,
up the
pick
flag.
it up.
Yeah, we'll
That's
pick it up.
left tackle kicking his left leg out to get a start in the shotgun early. Okay, that's what that is.
That's
Seton,
a
thanks,
Lane
brother.
Johnson. Yes, Todd.
Wasn't this the same guy that hung out with Heather Locklear on the beach? or something
Oh,
like
yeah.
That?
I don't listen. Why brag now? I mean, hey, it's there.
Why
what do you want me
not?
to tell you on Santa Monica? I mean, listen, Dan. When you got it, you just don't have to say anything about it. Plus, that was when I had a full head of hair, flowing locks, and the rest of it. Yeah, the Heather Locklear. But you guys will throw a double flag on me if we talk about that.
No.
Right?
I respect
You're allowed
that.
to humble brag on that? Yeah.
That's that. You know what? When you said it, and I know you told me the story probably 15 or 20 times.
400 times.
But it's I mean, that's pretty good. You made out with Heather Locklear.
I didn't say that.
You did too.
You did. No, I did not.
Did you kiss Heather Locklear?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Okay, so what constitutes making out with Heather Locklear?
French kiss.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And parlez-vous
I said
français?
Listen, I can't confirm nor deny back in 1984.
Stop it. Come on.
We had lovely lady, fun.
Okay.
We gave 110%. We took it one bite of our Italian food at the time.
Before I let you go, why are the Niners favored in Philadelphia?
I have absolutely no idea. I couldn't tell you, but that's why I guess they built casinos and air-conditioned hotels. Maybe it's when did Philadelphia play last, Dan? When was their last game? Was it Sunday or was it last Sunday? Sunday night? Was it Sunday? When did they play? When did they play last? I don't have
Buffalo?
any idea. Yeah, there
Buffalo
you go.
Sunday?
Okay, maybe it's the energy exert. I have no idea. On the road across the country, playing against Philadelphia, who is the best team in football. Both quarterbacks are in the MVP talk. I don't know, but I'm going to tell you, it's going to take a great effort to go in there, and it'll be the most hostile environment San Francisco plays in. And I just am curious why the world still doesn't believe that Brock Purdy can play. I just don't know why. Oh, he's on a good team. We make that excuse for every quarterback that is on a good team. That's the object, to be on a good team. Brock Purdy's a good player, and the last time they visited there, we didn't get 4 quarters at him. I like Philadelphia. I think this is a preview of the NFC Championship game. This won't be the last time they meet.
Sean, it's where you're drafted.
That's right.
Hey,
if he was the third pick of the draft, Dan, what would we be saying? They found their next guy, right?
Yes. Just like, Trey Lance, if he would have been taken where Trey Lance was and Trey Lance the other way around, we'd be like, oh, Trey Lance, maybe down the road he could be a backup quarterback. Dak Prescott, where you're drafted, you're labeled. It's like
the stigma.
You can't be Dan? That good,
right?
Because you weren't drafted
Experts
high.
Miss.
Yes, they do.
But those experts miss. They miss a lot of times. And here's a guy now, we're talking about a franchise. You're exactly right. If you put him up 7 rounds and he was the 8th pick of the draft, we'd be talking about MVP. They found their future. He's a franchise guy. It's almost as if people are waiting for him to fail because no way the 7th pick of the draft can be this good.
Yeah.
Or the 7th round pick, the last pick of the draft. So I think this is going to be a hell of a game. Maybe it's the game of the weekend, but this won't be the last time I don't think we see these two in the NFC playoffs.
Good to talk to you. Have a good weekend, buddy.
It's great to talk to you too, and I'll never let you know about Heather Locklear.
You already have let me know. You
400 times
already told me.
I'll text you with the real information.
Yeah, no, you already. Sean Salisbury, former NFL quarterback. See you, buddy. Sean Salisbury Show, Sports Talk 790 in Houston.